Hello, how ya doing? This is Jeffrey Lee Folschinsky, your animated orator of amazing antidotes, and I'm doing a little jig for no particular reason whatsoever as I bring you another episode of Meaningless Minutia, a show that inspires to inspire, but then gets inspired to do something else. And with that method of mayhem thrown out there, let's get to this week's question. Did you know that a living sports announcer was once traded for an animated rabbit? Who or what is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit? No, this isn't a philosophical question, but an honest inquiry by several television executives involved with trading famed sports announcer Al Michaels for an obscure animated cartoon character. To understand the importance of this trade, you have to go back in time. Not literally, of course, that's impossible. Even though my Uncle Rich tried to convince me he can do it by dressing in period clothing and thinking about it really hard. Of course, Uncle Rich liked to make his own homebrew with questionable ingredients, so you have to take that claim with a grain of salt. Anyway, back when animation was first starting, a young animator by the name of Walt Disney found his first success with a character that he created by the name of, you guessed it, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Of course, Mr. Disney was far off from being the major entertainment mogul that he eventually became, so he ended up losing the rights to Oswald, who eventually ended up at Universal Studios. Universal ended up eventually merging with NBC, and that's where the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit remain. Meanwhile, Mr. Disney went on to create Mickey Mouse, one of the most popular animated characters in history, along with Donald Duck, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, and a whole slew of unforgettable and iconic characters. Oswald, on the other hand, got passed around to various animators within Universal Studios, and eventually took a back seat to the more popular Universal character Woody Woodpecker, and was pretty much forgotten about after that. But there was some history buffs within Disney Studios that remembered poor Oswald and wanted him back within the Disney family. One of those people was the newly minted CEO of Disney, Bob Iger. As luck would have it, Mr. Iger was informed by executives at ESPN, Disney's sports channel, that Al Michaels, one of their popular announcers, wanted to get out of his contract so he could join Mr. John Madden over at NBC. Sensing an opportunity, Mr. Iger informed his ESPN executives that he would agree to let Michaels go to NBC, but only if they turned over full rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit to the Disney Corporation. ESPN's reaction was, who or what the heck was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit? After Mr. Iger explained it all to them, they made a call to the NBC sports executives and explained to them what they wanted for Al Michaels to get out of his contract and head over to NBC. Their reaction? Who or what the heck was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit? After explaining the history of the whole thing to the very confused executives over at NBC Universal, calls were made, and before you knew it, Mr. Al Michaels was headed over to NBC Sports, and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was headed back to the Disney family. The whole thing seemed to play out like some bizarre prisoner of war exchange. Regardless, there was much celebrating at the Disney company, with an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit Day being declared, with a parade, balloons, free lunches, and buttons being passed out to everyone. And how did Mr. Michaels feel about being traded for an animated rabbit? Well, while acknowledging the bizarre nature of the situation, he ended up exactly where he wanted to be, so he was pretty happy with the whole thing. So I guess, all's well that trades well. Okay, I can feel your mind about to go Looney Tunes, so I best just stop there. But before I let you make for that exit, let me leave you with this mental mishap. A man once sold his kidney to get an iPad, just showing you that the barter culture is alive and well, even though maybe it really shouldn't be. And with that, I'm Jeffrey Lee Folschinsky saying, adios, amigos.